Gen Z by Mary Ellen Campagna. Little Teddy was the apple of his parents' eyes, and his grandma thought he looked just like a blonde cherub at 9 months, so she cooed and treated him like a doll who'd never grow up. Unfortunately, Teddy died as an infant when he tumbled out of his baby carrier, landing on cement at the corner of 12th Street and Constitution. His parents, Bert and Gina, were taking him to see the train at the Smithsonian. Little did they know then that he would never grow up to know more pandemics or to understand the politics of war. He would never need to be scolded for overusage of his iPhone or for partaking in synthetic opioids that are 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine. Online bullying would no longer be a concern, nor racism or global warming. Indulgence in violent, interactive video games would never tempt him. Carrying a G47 MOS to school would be out of the question, as well as ever facing a bullet himself. A flurry of gender pronouns would evade the tyke, as would sexual politics, and in fact politics of any kind. Late capitalistic materialism gone wild would fail to lure him, but sadly he would miss the ocean. Sadly, he would never learn to swim in a sea of rowdy waves and walk home on a warm, sandy shore. Teddy's young parents were totally unprepared for a phenomenon as ominous as death. Yet neither of them grieved. Well, if they did, it was a hidden thing. Yet it's true that Bert developed postmodern stress disorder, PMSD, characterized by repeated self-exposure to violent digital electronic media. Gina was less affected, but she did succumb to a mild case of lycanthropy. She was never diagnosed with a psychiatric disorder. However, because she merely fancied herself a Bengal cat, not a wolf. Even though she did require a litter box, several of her online friends had experienced the same benign compulsion. Together, they formed a club of catwomen who prowled en masse on Friday nights while their mates watched football. Gina's stepsister, Leah, and her husband, Willie, babysat for Teddy numerous times prior to his passing. They seemed to take the death harder than the baby's parents. Leah, an Irish-Cuban-American, developed a wicked case of foreign accent syndrome, FAS, whereby she spoke with a heavy German accent, even though she had no prior knowledge of that language. But since the couple had bad insurance, Leah's problem went untreated. The saddest thing about it was that Leah's friends thought she was merely vying for attention, so they all abandoned her, leaving her bereft. That's when she mysteriously contracted auto-brewery syndrome, ABS. It caused her to produce ethanol through her gut. This made her constantly inebriated, even though she never drank alcohol. Since no one believed that she wasn't a lush, she eventually joined an AA group and lied that she was a German-born alcoholic. That they believed. Thus, Leah found her higher power in the meetings. Willie wasn't so lucky. In the year after Teddy passed, he was stricken with walking corpse syndrome, sometimes called Cotard's syndrome. The symptoms ranged from sensing that one has lost a limb, in this case Willie's right arm, to feeling that one has become a mere ghost walking around without tangible existence. Willie felt alive at 10 a.m. when he awoke to the smell of Peruvian coffee wafting up from the restaurant below his apartment. However, by 10 p.m., he was convinced that he was the phantom partner of his wife, Leah. She began to feel that way too, which confirmed Willie's suspicions about himself. But when she asked for a divorce, he shot up some heroin in the left arm, God only knows how, and reasoned that she did not need a divorce because he did not really exist. There were no social groups for walking corpse victims, with the obvious exception of the Stockbrokers and Investment Advisors Association, and Willie suspected that he would not be well received there. Leah tried to get him to pursue art, since much of its current themes seemed opaque and reflected a troubled mind, stuff that he was familiar with, but he shrugged off the thought. No, was all Willie said. According to Willie, even suicide was not an option, for the simple reason that you can't kill someone who doesn't exist. In desperation, Leah took her increasingly decrepit husband to one of the open meetings of her AA group, and there she prayed fervently for him. She noticed that Willie talked incessantly during the meeting. This she found odd for someone so convinced that he doesn't exist. She and others that night pointed this out to him. but Willie took it as a criticism, and it left him cold as a bucket of ice chips. Finally, Leah asked that Gina, Bert, and Angie go with her and Willie to an open AA meeting. They all attempted to pray for Willie that night. Leah's sponsor, Kit, laid hands on him, though she did it discreetly by holding her right hand flat on his back like an iron and pressing gently. At the close of the meeting, Willie requested that he be allowed to stay in a padded cell for 3 days without any drugs, something that the local psych unit was able to arrange. When he was released, Leah, Gina, Bert, Angie, and Angie's new boyfriend Paul all came to pick Willie up in a rented van. They put him behind the wheel, turned off their cells, and rode quietly with him to Nags Head Beach in North Carolina. Yes, that still exists. There they all danced together, drank grape juice, cooked flounder and corn on a grill, collected shells, and watched the blue-gray waves crash against the shore until the sun fell in the sky like liquid gold, streaked with lavender. All but Paul were thinking of Teddy. Story 5. Season of Singularity. Elena Montoya is resurrecting her best friend Gloria Tidebach, who died of a brain aneurysm. Rhode Island Clarion reporter Chip Nimby reports on the event with a brief interview published in the Sunday paper under the header Resurrection Day. Nimby: Ms. Montoya, what motivated you to build an avatar resembling Miss Tidebach, who passed away last year? Montoya: I miss her, that's all. And I have money. What else am I going to do with it that will make me happier than reproducing my best friend Glory? What, go to Vegas? The islands? Nah. Nimby: What is her family's response to the lifelike new creation? Montoya: Honestly, they'd rather have a park or a Boys and Girls Club devoted to her memory. But I say bull. I want to have my Glory over to lunch, chat about men like we used to. I can even play cards with her now. She plays better than she did before she died. Nimby: Can the new Ms. Tidebach run to the grocery store for you? Things like that? Montoya: I'll never tell. I'm sure her daughter wouldn't want her mom's likeness running errands for me. Nimby: And what does Mr. Montoya think about your new friend? Montoya: He's always tied up with his virtual reality VR headset these days. God only really knows what he's doing, but it keeps him plenty busy. So in short, he doesn't give a damn. Nimby: Could you explain how much the new Miss Tidebach's personality resembles the old Miss Tidebach's? Montoya: She's basically a clone, Mr. Nimby. That word sounds bad, but it's really such a blessing that our technology allows us to do these things that even 20 years ago would have been considered crazy. Nimby: I see what you mean. Montoya: Yes, not long ago it would have been considered unthinkable, impossible. Now it's giving people a chance to bring the ones they love back from death. Nimby: Sounds life-changing. Montoya: Yes. In fact, I recently had a clone made of Donnie, my wonderful German Shepherd of 14 years. He died of heart failure 5 years ago, and I was quite depressed for a long time until I heard that a new Donnie could actually come into my life. Nimby: I suppose you've heard of futurist Ray Kurzweil's ideas about nanorobotics. Montoya: Absolutely. My husband and I are planning to have the brain-computer interface, BCI, done next year when we get back from the Caribbean. We're excited about connecting our brains to the cloud. We both hope to add many years to our lifetimes. Nimby: Monumental. But do you even feel concerned that only the wealthiest people can afford to have the procedure? Montoya: Mr. Nimby, my husband and I have an expensive collection of contemporary art, space art. We didn't use that money to help feed the poor. Why? Because millions of years from now, the things that will remain are tangible things like art, like machines. Nimby: What about music? Montoya: Yes, written music that can be shared for generations. Nimby: But hungry people will come and go? Montoya: Exactly. As Jeremy Bentham said, we should support the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Nimby: But does it work mathematically? I mean, individuals like you, Ms. Montoya, only represent the top 1% of the world's citizens. Montoya: Perhaps, but we also represent the part of the populace that will continue the conscious race. We're the only ones who can afford to invest in ourselves. Nimby: So are you admitting that you support post-humanism? Montoya: What choice do I have? My husband and I will go on. I can't feel guilty about that. NIMBY: I see. But do you find room for true joy in these choices? Montoya: Sir, I suppose you'd say I'm a pragmatist. I'm a survivor. I have the satisfaction of being a survivor. It's not exactly joy, but it's definitely satisfaction. Is it better to have what I have or to die in poverty? NIMBY merely smiles and thanks Ms. Montoya for her time.